In 1805, Boston was a city caught between two worlds. The echoes of its revolutionary past still lingered, but change was rapidly sweeping in. As new industries and ideas collided, the city transformed into a bustling center of trade, culture, and innovation. But what did this evolution really mean for its people? By 1805, Boston stood at a pivotal crossroads. The scars of the Revolutionary War were still visible, both in the city's architecture and in the collective consciousness of its people. The cobblestone streets echoed with the rhythms of a centuries-old maritime economy, where ships from across the globe unloaded goods. But beneath the surface, change was unfolding rapidly. As industrialization began to creep into the landscape, Boston was becoming a center of new ideas and emerging technologies. The city's merchants, once the lifeblood of its economy, now faced competition from new industries. Would Boston's economy adapt to these shifts, or would it become a relic of a bygone era? The city, ever at the heart of American history, was about to enter a new chapter. The bustling port of Boston had long been the city's lifeblood, a vibrant gateway for goods and ideas flowing in from around the world. By 1805, it remained a critical hub of commerce, but changes were afoot. While the waterfront still teemed with activity, new forces, namely steamships and the rise of domestic manufacturing, began to challenge the city's maritime dominance. Sail-driven vessels, once the backbone of Boston's economy, now had to compete with newer, faster steam-powered ships. This shift was felt not only on the water but in the lives of the workers who had once relied on the docks for survival. Could the city maintain its position as the trade capital of New England? Or would this new wave of technology render its port obsolete by 1805? The rise of factories in Boston signaled a new era for the city, one that would forever change its landscape and its people. The early stages of the Industrial Revolution were beginning to take hold, bringing with them both opportunity and upheaval. Factories producing textiles, iron, and other goods began sprouting up along the waterfront and throughout the city. These factories employed a growing workforce, including women and immigrants, who were drawn to the promise of steady work. Yet, as machines replaced manual labor, tensions began to rise. The city's once quiet streets, filled with the sounds of horse-drawn carts, now hummed with the noise of industrial machinery. For those working within these factories, life was often harsh. Long hours, low wages, and dangerous working conditions created a growing divide between the industrial elite and the laborers. Boston, a city once defined by its revolutionary spirit, now found itself caught in the throes of industrialization. As Boston's economy evolved, so too did its demographic makeup. By 1805, the city was beginning to attract waves of immigrants, primarily from Ireland and Germany, who sought refuge from the turmoil and poverty of their homelands. These immigrants brought with them new traditions, languages, and skills that would leave a lasting impact on Boston's culture. Many of them found work in the growing factories or in the bustling port, while others sought employment in the service industries that sprang up in the wake of the city's expansion. However, their arrival was not without tension. Long-established Bostonians viewed the newcomers with suspicion, fearing that their influx would dilute the city's identity and strain its resources. Despite these challenges, the immigrants proved essential to Boston's transformation, contributing to the city's workforce, cultural vibrancy, and over time, its political landscape. Boston was no longer just a city of old Yankee stock. It had become a melting pot of new ideas, new customs, and new possibilities. Boston in 1805 was a city defined not just by its economic changes, but by its evolving political landscape. The revolutionary ideals that had once fueled the fight for independence were now giving way to new political forces. The Federalists, who had long dominated Boston's political scene, were beginning to lose their grip on power. In their place, the Democratic Republicans, led by figures such as Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, were gaining influence. This shift was more than just a matter of political parties. It was a reflection of broader changes in American society. The growing influence of the working class, the rise of new industrial interests, and the increasing demands for greater democratic participation were all reshaping Boston's political identity. By 1805, the city's political future seemed uncertain, as old alliances fractured and new ideas emerged. Boston's transformation, once driven by revolutionary fervor, was now shaped by the forces of economic change and social progress. In the early 19th century, Boston was not only a hub for trade and industry, but also a center for intellectual and cultural growth. By 1805, the city's universities, libraries, and literary salons were becoming the breeding grounds for the nation's most influential thinkers. Harvard University, the heart of Boston's academic scene, was a key player in this intellectual revolution, fostering discussions on philosophy, politics, and literature that would shape the nation's future. Writers, poets, and intellectuals like Ralph Waldo Emerson, though not yet fully established, were beginning to influence the cultural climate of the city. Boston's residents, driven by the post-revolutionary desire for intellectual and moral advancement, sought to create a more enlightened society. These intellectuals were not only concerned with education and knowledge, but also with defining the role of the new American identity. As the city grew, so did its thirst for knowledge, making Boston a beacon of learning and thought in the early United States in 1805. The role of women in Boston was quietly evolving, though the changes were often overlooked. Despite the social constraints of the time, women in Boston were starting to assert themselves in new ways, contributing to the city's economic and cultural life. Many women found work in the growing factories, especially in the textile industry, where their labor was crucial to the rise of Boston's manufacturing sector. Beyond the workplace, women were also becoming more involved in social movements and educational initiatives. Female educators, philanthropists, and activists were pushing for greater opportunities for women, laying the groundwork for future advancements in women's rights. Although still largely confined to traditional domestic roles, women in Boston were beginning to demand more recognition and autonomy. Their contributions to the city's transformation, though often uncelebrated, were significant, shaping the city's social fabric in ways that would become more apparent in the decades to come. By 1805, Boston's physical and urban landscape was undergoing a dramatic transformation. The cobbled streets and wooden buildings that had characterized the colonial era were being replaced by new, more modern structures as the city expanded. The rise of factories and warehouses altered the skyline, while broader infrastructure projects began to reshape the way Bostonians interacted with their environment. The construction of roads, bridges, and canals signaled a shift toward a more connected, industrialized city. Yet, with this progress came a sense of loss for many longtime residents. The familiar, intimate spaces of Old Boston were giving way to the new realities of urbanization. The streets, once quiet and narrow, were becoming more crowded and chaotic as waves of immigrants and industrial workers poured into the city. In this chapter of Boston's history, progress and nostalgia collided, marking a crucial moment in the city's evolution. The AI Reconstruction of Boston in 1805 offers a groundbreaking way to experience the city as it once was, allowing us to walk its streets, hear its sounds, and see its transformation through the lens of technology. By using cutting-edge AI tools, researchers and historians have been able to digitally reconstruct the city's architecture, port, and even the people who live there. This technology breathes new life into a historical period, offering an immersive glimpse into Boston's evolution. Through virtual reconstructions, we can explore the intricacies of the city's landscape, the bustling markets, the crowded streets, and the working docks. This AI-powered window into Boston's past not only deepens our understanding of its historical significance, but also allows us to visualize the very changes that helped shape its future. It serves as a reminder that history is not just something we read about, it's something we can experience. In 1805, Boston stood on the cusp of a new era, one that would shape its future as a prominent American city. The transformation underway was more than just economic or architectural. It was a fundamental shift in how Bostonians viewed themselves and their place in the nation. As industry grew, so too did the city's cultural and intellectual influence. The clash between tradition and progress was evident in the daily lives of its residents, from factory workers to political leaders. This chapter reflects on how the events of 1805 set the stage for Boston's rise as a center of American culture and innovation. The city's ability to adapt to the changing tides of history, while preserving its revolutionary spirit, would propel it into a new century of influence. Boston, once defined by its fight for independence, was now positioning itself as a city of progress and promise, its transformation a reflection of the nation's own evolution.